Welcome in Craft and Design 3.0. For my dear guys, for my dear audience, in this video I will describe how to make the backyard decoring ideas. Uh, my dear guys, when we talk about how to make the backyard decoring ideas, then different question arise in our mind like as how can I make the most of my backyard, or how to design a new backyard, or how can we make a beautiful garden, or what is the purpose of a backyard. So my dear guys, first of all, I talk about word backyard. What is a backyard? A backyard, or a backyard, known in the United Kingdom as a back garden. A just garden is a yard at the back of a house, common in suburban development in the Western world. So it is typically a residential garden located at the rear of property, on the other side of the house from the front yard. While my dear guys, the Western garden are almost universally based on plant, so the garden which etymologically may imply a shorthand of botanical garden, may use plants sparsely or not at all. Hence, the term yard and garden are, for the context of this article, interchangeable in most cases. So, my dear guys, when we talk about the historical background of backyard in English, suburban and gardening culture, back garden have a special place. In Britain, there are over 10 million back gardens. British planning requires minimum distances between the rear faces of adjacent dwelling, and so there is usually space for a back garden of some sort. In other countries, such as Australia, this does not apply, and preferences for building with a large footprint has tended to squeeze out the space at the rear. So, my dear guys, in Australia until the mid 20th century, in the backyard of a property would traditionally contain a foreground. So, authors 20 vegetables patch and wood heap. More recently, these have been replaced by outdoor entertainment such as barbecue and swimming pool. But since the 1990s, the trend in Australian suburban development has been for backyard to disappear, as the dwellings now occupy almost all of the building plots. In higher latitude, it is economical and low land value region to use open land surrounding a house for vegetables gardening during summers, and allow sunlight to enter house windows from a low horizon angle during winter. So as land value increases, houses are built nearer to each other, also in order to preserve some of the open land. My dear guys, house owner may choose to allow construction on the side land of the houses, but my dear guys, not built in front of or behind their house in order to preserve some remnants of open surrounding land. So the back area is known as the backyard or back garden. My dear guys, the back garden arises when the main building, my dear guys, divided the surrounding garden into two. So this happens especially in the high density housing of British sites and towns. So a semi-detached house typically of the British suburbs of the 20th century will have front garden which face the road, and also provide access. So the back garden in such cases will be more secluded, and access will typically be via the dwelling or by a path around the side. So a front garden is a formal and semi-public spaces, and so subject to the constraint of convention and law. However, the back garden is more private and casual, and so can be put to more purpose. So if the housing is terraced, then no side path is possible, and access may be provided by an alley which runs behind the rear of a terrace while building. Opening directly onto a street may not have a front garden, so most will have some space at the back, however small, the exception being back to back houses found in northern traditional and also, my dear guys, industrial town in England, such as Leeds. But now mostly demolished. A private backyard with a private toilet was a defining feature of Boiler terraced house, a type of dwelling built to comply with the Public Health Act 1875. So, my dear guys, if we talk about the usage of these backyard decoring ideas, because of the weather constraint, it is usual to use garden more in the summer than in the winter. Although some usage are traditional, such as for bonfire or bonfire night. So similarly, daytime usage is more common than nighttime. Functionally, it may be used for growing food, playing games, or relaxing and sunbathing, raising plants, housing pets, drying clothes, making a compost heap, and hobbies, locating a greenhouse and conservatory, shed, workshop, are those are garage if access to a road is possible. And partying, wildlife refuge, safe area of for children, location of an air raid shelter such as the Anderson shelter of the World War II. In fact, it's functional and recreational use is so varied that it cannot be easily categorized. Many of freedoms of the use of the back garden comes from the restriction, social or legal, of what are not done in the front. Usually, clothes are not dried, vegetables are not grown, and sunbathing is not carried out in a front garden. So all these can happen in the privacy of the back garden. Traditionally, people treat a back garden as private to themselves and not those their neighbors too. So the social etiquettes of how one can greet and interact one's neighbor may be complex and defined by many informal social rules. So, in some areas, my dear guys, talking to one's neighbor over the back wall, the side wall following the property boundary line is usual and is welcome from a neighborliness, while in other places it is not. So, my dear guys, if we talk about its contently, depending on the size of backyard, it may have any number of items such as barbecue, buildings such as barn, chicken coop, doggers, compost bin, decking, fencing, garden and garden furniture, landscaping, playground equipment, renewable vehicle, waste container, and many other. So, my dear guys, I think that my backyard idea, I think most inspirable for you, and you can learn from these ideas a lot of. If lot of, then subscribe my channel and like my video, share my video. Thank you very much.